Hi everyone. Do you want to know what my biggest problem is with most people and with this reality we're living in? Is the lack of originality in people's thoughts. I mean, as we enter 2012, which seems to be what now, 25 days away? The lack of originality on Earth is the most pathetic thing. And yeah, 2012 is going to be the great big consciousness war that this world has ever seen. And sometimes in my darker moments, I think quite fucking right. I mean, like when you try talking to a religious person, be they a Jew or a Muslim or a Christian, and they start telling you about circumcision or headscarves and covering women's faces or Jesus on the cross and repentance and sin, you say to them, are these your fucking original ideas? Did you come up with this yourself? No, I read it in a book. It was passed on to me by my parents. I was conditioned into it by the synagogue, the mosque, the church. And so, like, for fuck's sake, escape the mental programming. Don't come onto the internet and start writing all your brainwashed little conditioned nonsense all over my videos. Because all you're going to be doing is exposing to the world what a robotic zombie motherfucker idiot retard you actually are. But anyway, they do make it interesting. As I said in the video recently, here we are back at the abandoned house, and listen to this. See if you can hear the water. It's very nice. This is probably what most households will look like after World War III. And we've got, oh, there's my doggies down there. I better keep an eye on them, because here in rural France, the French countryside people seem to be awfully keen on shooting things. You can't walk for more than 5 minutes without hearing bang, bang, bang with their shotguns, and there's shotgun shells all over the place here. And whereas you might walk in the English countryside and you might see an otter or a weasel or a deer might run past, they've shot everything here. Everything's dead. So there's trees and my dog, which I hope... Rio! Oh God, there. My dog's been shot as well. But, like, if you start looking into reality itself, and like, let me just recommend a video. Joe Rogan, like, what a great guy, like how eloquent and how wonderful. But he has a YouTube video, which I'll put in the link at the bottom here, if I remember, called Joe Rogan, What is Reality? And he has this fantastic rant about black holes within galaxies, within universes, within consciousness, within the most psychedelic trip that is humanity. And you know what, like, we've got a world now of 7 billion people, and for all the problems that the New World Order's created, and the secret societies and the Illuminati and the the manufacturers of culture have done, they have given 7 billion people the opportunity to be alive, and generally most of them, 6 billion out of the 7 billion, are quite well fed. In fact, a bit too well fed. And yeah, everyone's here to experience things and be able to make mistakes and be able to be brainwashed by religion or brainwashed by your parents or brainwashed by your teachers. And part of the fun of life is to escape that brainwashing and start thinking for yourself. So sometimes I think that what we need is truly a culling of the idiots, of the morons. And I know that sounds dramatic, it makes me sound like a Nazi or someone calling out for genocide or depopulation, but I'm not. And I don't think this is something that a small group of people are going to do to everyone else. I think this is something that people in their insanity are going to do to themselves. They're going to gladly sign up to the army, to the navy, to the air force, and they're going to drop bombs on one another. And I just filmed a minute ago some Eurofighters flying over France here. Obviously some brave pilots that dropped some bombs on those Libyan children to make sure that the Islamist fanatics got into power in Libya. And we're seeing now in Egypt that there's a battle between the moderate Islamists, the Muslim Brotherhood, versus the hardcore 1,000-year-old Sharia law, let's beat women down kind of maniacs. And they're kind of jostling, and all the liberal parties are not even getting a look in. And in Tunisia, the Islamist one. And like, I'm not against Islam any more than I'm against the ridiculousness of Judaism or Christianity or Hinduism or whatever. But, like, can the people not see that the West is funding these Islamist groups to build up towards this confrontation with Israel? Sorry, within the a confrontation with the Rothschilds state in the Middle East. And World War III is going to be a mutual annihilation between Iran and Israel, and the whole Arab world will get this whole knickers in the twist clash of civilizations, and all the patriotic Americans will start marching obediently towards their deaths. And they're going to bring in martial law and FEMA camps, and in Britain, the right-wing media has already fucked everyone's brains over, and also the people in Britain. I mean, maybe a few thousand, maybe a few 100,000 actually are quite nice people, but the vast majority of people are, in a way, like Frankenstein's monster. So let me explain this a bit before I become too, I don't know, confusing for you guys. What do I mean by Frankenstein's monster? As I was saying earlier, the free market capitalist slavish system, the Chinese model, which David Rockefeller boasted, saying this is the greatest experiment in human world, it has allowed 7 billion people to be alive, but at what cost? I kind of sometimes allude human life on Earth right now to let's say an alien comes across a person comes across a factory farm, and let's say in the outside world, pandas are extinct or nearing extinction, but within this gigantic 5,000 acre indoor farm, you open the door and suddenly you see 1 million pandas, and you might be thinking, wow, how great, look at these pandas, we have no panda problem. But then you scratch a bit beneath the surface and you look a bit closely at these pandas, and they're all fucking nuts. And instead of being black and white, they might be black and beige or black and grey. So are they really pandas? And what I'm trying to say is, people in the conditioned, machine-like world, are they really human? When they're so easily led, when they're so easily brainwashed. In fact, when they've been bred to be brainwashed. And Aldous Huxley wrote a fantastic book, which I've read twice, once at the age of 17 and then again at 27, called Brave New World. And that talks about the fully conditioned and prepared technotronic society, which Zbigniew Brzezinski spoke about, which many other people want, and what Mark Zuckerberg with his Facebook CIA database seems to be making easier and easier. So what I want to do with this video, and I've set it to cinema mode, and I've put a nice little blue filter on there. The dog's not been shot. Rio, come here. He's too short to say hello to the camera. But what I'd like to do is to opt out with this video, allow this to be my signature signing board of opting out of society. And to all the ambulance crew, to all the police that might save me if I'm getting my head kicked in, or to the NHS, the National Health Service, who might have to stitch me up if I have a bike crash or something, please only do it if you're doing it out of human compassion, not for money. If you're a policeman or a paramedic and you're only fixing me for money, for your pension and your salary, then fuck off. I've opted out. I do not want any more public services. All I want are human services. I want you and me to be each other's pension. We can be each other's bank account. And if you feed me, and if you give me life support, or if you give me anything, let it be on a human level. So let's opt out of this mad consciousness war that is coming along. And I just hope that we get enough notice. All I need is a week to get myself deep into the Amazon jungle as the fevered egos and their incredible hordes of Frankenstein's monsters will begin to annihilate each other in 2012. And as I've alluded to in the past, I think 2012 will be the self-fulfilling prophecy end of the civilization that we enjoy at the moment and the beginning of the post-industrialist, post-democratic era. But saying post-democratic isn't as scary as it sounds. I know we kind of get images of Russian mafias, or we get European Union bureaucrats controlling things in a post-democratic world, but what is democracy? Democracy is allowing the great, uneducated, unsophisticated hordes of idiots to choose what kind of life you live in. And I mentioned Joe Rogan earlier, and by having democracy, what we really have is a bunch of conservative, small-minded, low IQ idiots deciding that you and I, Joe, cannot smoke weed. And I said I read Brave New World at 17. I took an IQ test at 17 and I got a score of 132. And then after 10 years of incredible amounts of weed smoking, and I'm talking almost heroic amounts of weed smoking, my IQ, when I took the IQ test again at the age of 27, 4 years ago, was 136. And I know it's a Western white man's invention, and if you give an IQ test to an Aborigine or an African man on the savannah, he might not score so well because his speciality is staying alive. And you know, if I was to take a Bushman skill test, I'd probably get a score of 0. But in terms of geospatial awareness, in terms of abstract problem solving, marijuana, cannabis, weed, hash, whatever you call it, skunk, increased my IQ considerably. So again, this is one of those videos which I use as my psychotherapy to have a good rant. And another thing as well, yeah, I'm back in London tomorrow, so this might be my last video from France, from the abandoned house. And Wednesday morning, I'm thinking, occupy London, get the megaphone dusted off, and I might try and be there for 8 in the morning or 9 in the morning, but making sure that there's enough businessmen and businesswomen walking past that we control them with the megaphone. Because if there's one thing that can save us from this very, very scary world, I think it's lightheartedness and humor, and actually loving kindness and compassion for one another. So with full compassion and with a full understanding that we are truly living in a quantum hologram, that we are all each the expression of God having an insane acid trip, it doesn't really matter if history repeats itself. I mean, we're not going to go back and save the Jews from Hitler. We can't save the Rwandans from the Burundians, or the Tutsis from the Hutus, or the Hutus from the Tutsis, or the Serbians from the Croats. So we shouldn't be so arrogant to think that we can actually stop World War III when the greater collective consciousness seems to have a very insane flu, influenza, swine flu, bird flu, SARS, brain flu. And I think the world is going to have one big sneeze involving a lot of nuclear weapons and extreme atavistic savagery, in the words of Hunter S. Thompson. So without further ado, I don't really care whether I live or die, because I don't believe in life or death as end concepts or beginning concepts. I'm going to probably disappear at my own anus and reappear in Alpha Centauri star formation as a blue avatar style Navi, whatever. So it doesn't really matter. So I just want to encourage everyone to create art, to make fun of power, to make fun of ego, to make fun of me. Write me some hate in the comments section, whatever. And also, one final thought which I should have mentioned at the start. All of life is the product of orgasms. All of human life is the product of orgasms. And when you're making love to someone, you don't actually think the outside world exists. And I am here in France, in rural France, and the French call the orgasm la petite mort, which translates as the little death. And I love the irony of the little death being the creator of all human existence. And I think I know what it means, is that at the moment of orgasm, for men and for women, well, I don't know what it's like to be a woman having an orgasm, but I hope I've witnessed it. I hope you haven't all been lying to me with fake orgasms. But yeah, it's a small death because the outside world doesn't exist. So to a certain extent, your perception does create reality. So don't get so stressed out by the European Union bureaucrats or the Goldman Sachs or the Hank Paulson. May his head get chopped off by the angry resistance. I didn't just say that. A legal disclaimer, whatever. Don't get too stressed about these things, because it's getting stressed about these things that leads you into violence and fear. So believe in yourself. You have all the answers of the universe in your hearts. And one final comment on religion. You know what? I don't really have that much anger against religious people. It's just that I like originality. I like humanity. And if you didn't come up with a concept yourself, then, you know, it's boring. So anyway, with a lot of love, and I'll see you guys back in the UK. Maybe Wednesday morning we can all meet up at Occupy London, and that goes out to the lovers and the haters. The haters, more than welcome to come and hate me in public. And I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone that supports this project, the Love Police, the LPA, the anarchist resistance movement that I mentioned on Brent Johnson's show the other day. And I wouldn't do it if it wasn't for all of you. You're all beautiful, you're all amazing for watching. And my dog's very impatient now. So just before I go, let's have a quiet moment of meditation as we listen to that water again. Oh, one last thing as well. Check this out. This goes out to all of you guys. You are my muse. Lots of love, Charlie Veitch.